No.
Hello, good evening, Croeso. Welcome to a very special FC Cymru, where we are speaking to the age grade coaches, Paul Bodin and Rob Edwards, and we're going to get a fantastic insight into all of the age grade football which is taking place, because you may well know that there are some very serious World Cup qualifiers coming up. But it is also a very huge couple of weeks in the Wales setups, where we get the opportunity to see some of the fresh young talent who are coming through. And quite frankly, after the last year, the guys who are joining me get to get their players on the pitch, get them coaching, get them in the Welsh way. So we'll be talking all about the games that are coming up. And for some reason, the FAW have decided to allow us to take over their social media channels. So you could be watching on YouTube. So feel free to shout a comment in there and we can pick those up. You should be able to be watching us on Facebook as well. And you should even be able to watch us on Twitter. So any comments you ping in, we will give a shout out and we will ask your questions. So the guys here to answer your questions. They're here to talk anything all about the Cymru teams, and it's over to you guys. But first of all, let's do some introductions so you know exactly who we're talking to this evening. I'm Lawrence from FC Cymru, but I don't count, so don't worry about that. We are talking to the under-18s coach. Now, he's usually under-19s, but we will come on to all that confusion in a minute. Rob Edwards, so a big welcome to Rob, who is a former midfielder, defender, 90s Bristol City legend. Rob, I think we're fair to say?
Yeah, it seems like a long time ago now, but thank you for that, Lawrence. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries at all. And we've also got Paul Bodin. Paul, who was 23 caps for Wales, I believe, Paul, unless my research is wrong.
No, I'll let you off on that. That's correct.
Okay, good. Thank God for that. And Swindon 90s legend. And that's fair to say as well, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I think eight years at the club. I mean, it's not kind of common nowadays, is it, to spend that much time? But yeah, 8 years at one club, 250, 60 league games. So yeah, spent a long time and still live in the area. So yeah, enjoyed it. I played as my part as a youth team coach as well, and also a first team manager for a caretaker spell. So sort of did a bit of everything at Swindon at one stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of looking after the youth players, which is you've continued now into the Wales under-21s, been in the manager of the under-21s since 2019, and that was after Rob Page stepped up to the senior side, right?
That's right. Yeah, I mean, Rob, I think he was Ocean left, didn't he, for Morocco, a new role, and there was a space with the first team setup. And Rob seamlessly stepped into that role, and they've had great success. I'm not saying it's all down to Rob, as he might tell you sometimes. Only joking, Rob, if you're listening. But no, he has done exceedingly well. Obviously, all his experience as a player, as a coach. Obviously, I worked with him at Port Vale. I was his assistant for a year. So yeah, Rob's gone up there, done tremendously well. It was quite seamless, really. We were lucky. We also, with Rob as a full-time employee as well, Rob moved up from the 17s to the 19s, and then myself 19s to 21s. So we knew all the players, which is the important part. You know, we weren't coming into something that was pretty alien to us, and it was a case of carrying on all the good work that was in place.
Fantastic stuff. We will look at all that good work coming up as well. And let's introduce Rob as well properly. We should have a graphic for Rob and his time with Wales as well. So there we go. Cymru under-19s coach has led Cymru into the under-19s elite round in 2019. And Rob, that must feel like that group, sort of led by Nico Williams and a really strong team. And you guys just didn't get the opportunity to go in that elite round, did you?
No, it was unfortunate, Lawrence, for that group because it did really well, and our under-17s that year qualified as well, didn't they, for the elite? So they weren't able to go and sort of show what they did in further rounds. But that's what it is. We'll write sort of last year off, I suppose, in terms of getting on the grass, the younger age groups. But we're all looking forward to getting on the grass again. And there's one thing for sure, that the boys have all been developing at the club. So hopefully we'll see the sort of development they've made, and look forward to seeing them play for Wales.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, this is an interactive show, so if you guys have questions for the lads, then do ping them in. To set up the format then, and just to let you know kind of what's going on, we're going to be chatting for around about sort of another 5 minutes or so, just about the age groups, chatting about the games that are coming up over the next couple of weeks and the campaigns ahead. We're then going to talk to two of the under-21s players. So we're going to be joined by Brandon Cooper from Swansea. I almost said Swindon then. I haven't transferred him yet. He's always I've got Swindon on the mind now, Paul. So we're going to be chatting to Brandon. He's gone back to Swansea after a very exciting kind of period where he went to Newport, made some really big waves down there in Newport, went back to Swansea, and we'll be picking up with him. And we'll also be talking to Terry Taylor, who has made a big move from Wolves to Burton Albion recently, wants his first team football. So we'll be chatting to Terry all about that. That's going to come up, so you guys could get questions in for that as well. You're welcome to get involved. We want your thoughts, questions, insights into the age grade system. So, Paul, well, let's start with the under-21s then with yourself. A big couple of weeks. So you've got a game coming up against the Republic of Ireland, and this under-21s that you've sort of got in your possession this time. It's a very new side, isn't it? We had a lot of players who stepped up beyond the age and are now having to fight to be full internationals.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a new campaign. Obviously, we start our first program in the end of May, early June the 3rd. I think the first game is against Moldova. So yeah, it's a whole new group of players. The fact I think there's 6 left from last year's campaign as well. And Brandon, who's on the show later, he's one of them. He leads by example on and off the pitch. Tremendous example to all young players. And as you touched on, went to Newport. And we often encourage young players who are playing in 23s football to go out on loan. And Brandon showed, how valuable that really could be. He was an outstanding player for Newport. And, when I speak to the coaches there, they really missed him. He's gone back to Swansea, obviously higher level, been on the bench a few times, and I'm sure he'll be hoping to get a game or two before the season finishes. But, we're really looking forward to it. As I said, it's the start of a new campaign. We've got some tough teams, Holland, Switzerland, Bulgaria, and Moldova and ourselves. So, and Gibraltar, obviously, perhaps one of the lesser teams, but never easy at any level nowadays. So we're looking forward to it. It was a training camp initially next week when we meet up in North Wales, and then we had a call from the Republic of Ireland offering us an under-21 fixture. So we snapped their hands off, and at the end of the training week, we'll be looking to put in a good performance against the Republic of Ireland, who do very, very well at intermediate age groups. They often qualify for 17s, 19s and 21s. They got a good group of players, again, players who are playing first team football at various levels in the Football League pyramid. So, it'll be a good challenge. But the main thing for me personally, and I'm sure for the boys, is to integrate, get together again. We only get a chance 4 or 5 times a year to get these boys together, and every moment is precious when they're on camp. So we look to integrate them, get the boys used to playing, as you said at the top of the show, the Welsh way, out of their perhaps club tactics and formulas, and get into the Welsh way. Slightly different football, obviously, at the international level, high level in the final thirds. So you have a little bit more possession, you get a little bit more time on the ball, and then it's how you utilize, the ball when it's in your possession. So we'll be looking to ingrain that, over a short space of time from Monday morning when we meet up.
Yeah, I always think it must be pretty tough as an under-21s manager, because if your players are good and you've got a real strong group, certainly for Wales and for the Cymru teams, they get taken, right? I mean, over the last couple of years, you must have had sort of a whole load of players in and around that first team who you could have drawn on.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, I think because I worked in youth development football, and when you've been a youth team manager at a club, that is predominantly where you want your players to go. You know, if they're ready for first team, whether they're a first year scholar, second year scholar, or they're a first year pro, if they can get near that first team environment and actually play, you know, that's what we all want. So everybody's in full support of it. I knew the role before I took it on, and over the last few years, Chris Coleman, and obviously more recently Ryan, you know, if they think a player is good enough, you know, they'll incorporate the player into the squad. And, you know, I don't think they've been let down. All the players who've gone up have done really well. They've settled into the squad. I suppose there was a little bit of a transition period as well when one or two of the older players dropped out. So there was space. But I think it was 9 players over the last 2 years who've moved up from the under-21s and into the first team squad. You know, it's a huge number to lose from an under-21 squad. We haven't got masses of players in Wales, as we know. We are a small nation, but we're a nation who has a lot of pride and purpose in what we're trying to achieve. So, unfortunately, Nico's jumped up, and I'll never see him again. I was looking forward to working with him again, having worked with him in the 19s. But that's what you want. You know, if a player can go up and he's got some temperament, you know, to step from the youth team at Liverpool into Liverpool's first team, what was incredible last couple of years. I know they've dropped off a little bit this year. But, you know, to have a temperament and you're able to go into a first team dressing room full of international world-class players, you have to take your hat off to him, because not a lot of young players would be able to do that.
No, that must have been your coaching, Rob, I think, that did that, wasn't it? At the under-19s, you had him, moulded him and sent him straight up to the first team.
I'm not sure anyone moulded Nico. He's a free spirit on that right side, isn't he, of wing back running forward. But he's obviously, you know, his challenges are, you know, all young players have got to develop their game, and he's working at other parts of his game now. But certainly, you know, going forward, he was outstanding, and you know, he did really well for the 19s in that group, and he flew through the team quite quickly, didn't he?
Yeah, I remember watching him down at Rodney Parades in that in the qualifying round, and he was just head and shoulders above sort of pretty much every other player on the pitch.
No, he was. I think he just had a sniff, hadn't he, of the Liverpool first team, I think, just before that mini tournament. So he was, obviously, his confidence was flying. But, you know, he stepped forward, and I've got to say he led the other boys in terms of sort of what Paul mentioned, an attitude off the pitch and standards. So, you know, he was a real leader. And I think, just listening to your conversation then about, you know, if you think about it in the other way, if the boys weren't getting first team opportunities from Paul's team, it would be frustrating for us all. So, you know, it's so positive that the boys go through the 19s to the 21s quick and the 21s to the seniors. So I can't imagine what it would be like if they didn't and it was totally blocked up. It would be a frustrating time for everyone.
Is it going to get a little blocked up? Because obviously with those sort of young players in there, you think of like your Ethan Ampadu's age group and Harry Wilson, and they're young guys, aren't they? So is there going to be that kind of block? And I guess actually we kind of want that, because that pushes the players to try even harder to get into the first team.
I just think that, you know, the staff, you know, Pagey, you know, knows the young players, and I think they know when they're ready. And I think, you know, your club form will always dictate whether you probably get an opportunity at international level if you're really flying in your club form. You know, I always think there'll be opportunities there for Wales. We haven't got a huge group of players, and there seems to be now, you know, with 3 internationals in the break, in the sort of international windows, there's going to be lots of opportunities. So, and I got to say as well, the level of under-21 internationals as well. You know, the boys, whether you're playing league football or not, you know, when we went and played against the Germans, I was involved with Paul in that camp, and I watched them play Belgium. The level of under-21 football now is such a high level that you're not wasting your time coming away with under-21 internationals. It's an incredible learning curve. You're playing against top players who are playing in Germany, Spain and Holland, so it's all about learning. Of course, we all want to play in the seniors, but the 21s is a high level.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. I went to see the under-21s a couple of years ago in Bangor when you guys played Portugal. And I think it was a ridiculous Portugal team. You look at some of the players there that have gone on, Diego Jota being one of them, I think, who played there that evening. And an incredible experience for what must be for that age group, Paul.
No, absolutely. And as you say, I mean, Portugal, there are a number of quality players. When I was with the 19s 2 years ago, the lad Torres, who went to Man City for 20 million, he played against us. So Morgan Boys was up against him over in Holland in the elite group. He played 37 games for Seville that season, I think. And he's playing in the under-19s. So it's incredible. They do tend to keep, obviously they got a bigger crux of players to pick from, but they tend to leave the players in their right age group, get the experience of playing at top level, try and qualify for major tournaments, and that'll enhance their experience when they do step up into the senior squad, that they've got that valuable experience already in under their belts.
Yeah, absolutely. I think João Felix as well. I remember playing there. João Felix in Bangor. That's the way. That's what we want. So listen, this is an interactive show. So you guys, if you want any questions pinged in, shout outs, then do get in touch. If you've got any questions for the guys, just like Welsh Dragon 9, under 21 squad is looking very strong. It certainly is. So who are you looking forward to seeing in the under 21s? Are there any names in there that you want to find out about? Any players that you want to know about? Is it Niall Huggins that you've seen kind of on the bench for Leeds? We'd like to know a little bit more about him. But before we get the two players up, lads, I need a little sort of insight from you. So we're going to be talking to Brandon Cooper and Terry Taylor. What can you tell me about Terry? What can you tell me about Brandon?
Well, they're both exceptional young men. Obviously, Brandon's had a real good run of games. Terry's kind of looking and trying to forge that at Burton. He had a good run of games at Grimsby, so we kept our eye on him, and I watched him a number of times there, and he did really well, you know, in his first loan spell. I don't know quite what happened and why he got called back to Wolves. I think he just got out of the team, and Grimsby was struggling a little bit. So
they were struggling, weren't they? They seemed to be, there seemed to be some problems behind the scenes, I think, there from what we saw with Ian Holloway leaving.
Yeah, the ownership and there was all sorts of problems. So he's gone back to Wolves and then ultimately ended up at Burton, which is a great move. And Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, I spoke to Jimmy recently last week, and he really thinks the world of Terry. Although when I spoke to him, he wasn't playing every week, but he knows he'll be very much part of his first team squad, if not in the running now. Now they're out of the relegation zone, then certainly one for the future. And as I mentioned about Coops, I've worked with him for quite a few years now, and he is the model young professional. First in for training, first out in the morning, wants to stay out, wants to do extra, always asking questions. So these two guys are the guiding lights in our group, and there are many, many other boys in the group, without naming them specifically. But the fact that these two boys, you know, are on the show tonight, then full credit to them as well for coming on, finding the time. And I'm sure if there's any questions anybody wants to ask, they'll more than be happy to help them.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Well, we will ask them. But we do have a question in from Welsh Dragon before we go to the lads. Jeff Cock, close to the seniors. He is a man who's been making waves with his goals in League One for Plymouth. I guess we throw that one straight to you, Paul, because that was your call.
Well, absolutely. I mean, he wouldn't have been far off, but obviously when you look at the plethora of quality strikers we've got in the first team, and you've got to remember, you know, as much as we want to push players up as quickly as possible, and when we feel they're ready, you know, Luke's only 18 months into sort of first team football at first division level. 18 months ago, he's on loan at Truro, and there were doubts about his ability or his physicality at Plymouth at one stage. So he's obviously prepared himself. Truro was a great exercise again, as we mentioned, about a loan spell being successful, and that was another real successful loan spell. It prepared him physically, mentally to deal with men and what it means to win a game of football on a Saturday. And he came back, scored on his debut, January 2020, and he's been scoring ever since. So long may that continue. I don't think the under-21s have ever had perhaps such a prolific goal scorer in their group. Someone with 18 goals in the season is something to behold. And, you know, I hope that he can get his 20 goals in a not too distant future. But he will obviously help us, you know, to come in with that many goals under his belt. And the experience he's getting playing week in, week out. It's not always something that we're lucky to have, a goal scorer of that kind of ability.
No, Absolutely. Rob, who are you most looking forward to getting into the group? Because you've got a brand new group there, haven't you? There's some lads that we saw in the age groups that were from the under-17s. So basically, for FC Cymru, we covered the under-17s in March last year, and I think lockdown happened about a week later, so the guys didn't get to play their games. But they were there's some really good players in there. Charlie Savage, I think, Ollie Ewing, who's making waves at Leicester City, and some really good players in there.
No, there is. It's a good group. Like I say, they qualified. I think in their qualifying group they played Holland and we just beaten 2-1 with there was a goal in the last 5-6 minutes. So yeah, we're looking at, it's interesting that a year is a long time in their development, isn't it, for these boys? So we don't really know what to expect in terms of where they'll be physically and in terms of technically and tactically. But it'd be just great to have them. We've got 4 days training camp, and then we've got a game against England under 18s. Who England will be. A real test. Obviously they've got lots and lots of players to pick from, but we'll be competitive against them. We'll prepare the boys, and ultimately we're preparing for our under-19 campaign next season. No, in the qualifying. So now we look forward to it. It'll be great to have them. When I speak to the boys, and I've spoken to quite a few of them before, what it means just to get picked in the squad is incredible. And then the boys, I've even spoken to 3 or 4 lads who haven't been selected in it, and they've asked what they can do, what they need to do to try and get into it. So it's not just the boys that get selected. There's another big number of, big group of players who are desperately trying to get into these squads. So the competition's big, and we're trying to create an elite environment, and the players have got to be elite in all things they do when they turn up.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Well, listen, we've plenty more to come from you chaps. So thanks very much for the questions coming in. Oh, in fact, we got one here from Mikey. Will we see any of the 2002 group in the squad? Chem Campbell and Owen Hesketh in particular. I know Chem Campbell is a particular favourite of some of the lads on Twitter who follow Wolves. Who wants to take that one?
Yeah, I mean, they're the O2s. I think I mentioned to you earlier, Lawrence. Unfortunately, we've had a whole year without any qualification games or any friendlies for the O2s. And these 2 boys mentioned there, Owen Hesketh and Chem Campbell, both doing really well in Wolves under-23 team. I was up there a couple of weeks ago watching and impressed. Chem's come back from a back problem over Christmas time. He was out for about a month, 6 weeks. I think there's growing plates in his back. So thankfully he's back playing and doing really well. Owen Hesketh is a little bit of a late developer, but he's doing extremely well as well. So them 2 boys will be pushing my group. And it's important they keep their standards up, keep developing at the club, and obviously we're monitoring them on a regular basis.
Fantastic. All right, well, plenty more to come from Paul and Rob, but let's with further ado, because we've got the lads waiting in the wings to come on, so we're going to get on Brandon and Terry, and first of all say a little bit of a video just to introduce them. There we go. Gents, welcome. Thanks very much for coming along. Terry, great to see you, and you, Brandon. So thanks very much for joining us and taking your time out, chaps.
No worries. Evening, how are you doing?
Yeah, very good. Terry, let's start with you. You've had a cracking kind of week, haven't you? You debut for Burton, or first start, and things are picking up for under a club, and you've made the big move to go to Burton. So let's start with that. What made you want to take that big plunge and head off to Burton from Wolves?
Well, it's a good question. Obviously, at FAWales, at a Premier League team, it was a bit of a risk to take that jump, but I think at this point in my career, it's important for me to be around a first team environment, playing games if I can, and yeah, it was mainly that drew me to move. I obviously had a long talk with the new manager at Burton, Jamie Floyd Hasselbank. So he spoke to me about how he saw the club going and how the team going in the second half of the season. And obviously, since I've been there, we've had a great run of results, and it's been really enjoyable. To be honest, I'm really glad that I made the move. I think it was the right thing for me. So yeah, that's about it. But yeah, it's been good.
Yeah. And then back into internationals now, and pulling on the shirt for Wales. And you scored in not the last game, in the penultimate game against Moldova. So we're gonna come to that in a minute. But Brandon, listen, great to have you along as well, mate. And now, having had a fantastic start of the season, we saw there you were off at Newport, and then got called back to Swansea. And then, unfortunately, as football has its habit, you picked up a bit of an injury that sort of set you back a little bit there. But back playing now.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back. Picked up a little injury in training, which saw me out for about 6 weeks from the start of January when I got called back. But yeah, like you said, it's part of football. Had a great start to the season with Newport, and they're still doing well now. So just glad to be back out on the pitch, and I've been on the bench a couple of times now in the Championship, and just working as hard as I can to get that chance to get on the pitch.
Yeah, and you've been a Swans fan right from you're from Porthcawl originally, so dyed in the wool Swans, is it?
Yeah, I've been to many South Wales derbies on the right side. But yeah, from Porthcawl. But as you can imagine, there's a hell of a divide in Porthcawl between Swansea and Cardiff, being smack bang in the middle. But I've always been a Swansea fan because I've been at the club since I was 6. So it's almost been in me right from the beginning.
Oh, looking forward to this weekend then. Looking forward to the Swans derby.
Yeah,
or the South Wales derby.
Yeah, you've got to be. The massive one, isn't it? And just looking ahead to it now.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you, Terry, in terms of being sort of getting involved with Wales, how long have you been involved in the system with Wales? And I'm sure people might have picked up on the Scottish accent a little bit. So I'm assuming you weren't born in Wales.
No, I was born in Ayrshire in Scotland, but I've been playing with the youth age groups since I think under 15 was my first involvement. So yeah, many years I've been involved in the Wales setup, but that's obviously through my mum. She's Welsh, and all of her family are Welsh as well, so that's where I get my Welsh blood from.
Listen, no one says no to a Welsh mum. Do you know what I mean? So we're that's where that comes from. We're glad to have you along, mate. Absolutely. And so, what was the? So I think it was. How was I going to say? So you've got yourself into the Wales squad, and you're sort of involved in that. What's it like meeting up with the guys and meeting up with the squad? And I guess you two are kind of going to be almost the seniors amongst the under-21s this time, Terry.
It's always enjoyable meeting up with the boys. Every camp I've been to, it's good to get a break from club football, focus on the national team. I don't know about senior. I think it feels weird to say that, but I guess so, in terms of both of us have been involved. Coops a bit more than myself, but we've been involved quite a lot, so it'll be good to meet up with the boys. It's a bit of a new group, but I think everyone will get on well, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, fantastic. And for you, Brandon, I think we did some stuff with some of the team who were leaving, and they were already calling you out as a leader in the group, and a lad who likes to sort of takes it as the ultimate professional. So I guess the leadership roles are kind of falling on you, right?
Yeah, I think it's something I pride myself on a daily basis. And if I can be that person for people to look to, and I'm more than happily do it. And like Terry said, it's going to be good with the new group now because there's faces we haven't come across maybe, and some younger boys that we can help and show them the ropes almost and share our experiences with them, and and just really enjoy the camp because it's a good game to be involved in against Ireland. And yeah, I think we can really have a good camp.
Yeah. Fancy scoring a header, Brandon?
Oh, I'd love to.
Yeah. Because no, we searched the banks. We searched the banks for a goal, and it seems that you do love scoring a header for Wales and club sides as well. So this is from, hopefully, if Luke can find the video ready to go. Do you remember? I think it was the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Under 17s level. So
Yeah.
you just have a quick look at this. That for a header.
Can't forget that.
No, talk us through it, big man. Talk us through it.
Oh, it was an under 17s qualifier against Holland down in Dragon Park. I was quite late on in that game. I scored 2 in that game. I scored.
Well, we saw the first one, but the second one blew it away. So
Yeah.
we just put up the second one.
Ben Woodburn put in a long cross from a corner and just got up early, and I've seen it just rocketed off my head and just flew over the keeper. But yeah, we all love scoring as a defender. It makes it even more special. So if I can add any more in this camp, it would be great.
Absolutely. Well, a few years later, you got your first senior goal as well for Newport, right?
Yeah, another header. That one a bit closer than the one we've just seen. But yeah, that was a great feeling scoring at Newport, getting that first professional goal. Yeah, it was a great one, and you can see the emotion. That was a late goal as well. But yeah,
we could hear the emotion as well. We had to mute it. So we don't. It's a family broadcast. We'll mute the emotion. There's no crowd, is there? So you can hear everything. But yeah, listen, that was a fantastic header.
Yeah. It was I got up good, but it was close. If I'd missed from there, I think it would have been some questions asked, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh well, listen. Let's hope for something against the Republic of Ireland. And Terry, as we mentioned, you actually scored in the last home game for Wales, which was up at the racecourse, and against Moldova.
Yeah. It's a bit of a collector's item for me. It's not something.
Are you not a goal scoring midfielder? Is that not your?
I don't know. I'd like to say I am, but I don't think the numbers are backing up at the minute, so we'll wait and see.
All right, listen, it was again maybe closer. No, they need to do something about the racecourse lights. I think, to be fair, watching this, 6 yards out, absolutely deadly from 6 yards. So talk us through it.
Well, I just got bounced off the line in it, and I was just there, just surprised it landed at me, and then I think Jeps maybe took me out in the celebration, and yeah, no, it was a great feeling, to be honest. There's no better feeling, I don't think.
How would you describe yourself as a player then Terry? Because you play centre of midfield, so how would you describe yourself to the guys?
I'd say, I don't know, holding midfielder more predominantly. Like to get on the ball. Good range of passing, I think. Play off both feet strongly. But I like to do the other side of the game, win headers, tackles, stuff like that. So I'd like to add some goals to my game, but I'm working on it.
Working on it. That's it. That's the way to do it. Do you guys keep an eye out for the other players in the under 21s or what have you when you kind of go back to your clubs and what have you? Is there a sort of WhatsApp group that goes on amongst the players?
I think we keep an eye on each other through social media and stuff. See how everyone's doing, and it's great when someone's doing well. I'm staying in contact. There's not a actual chat, but yeah, we like to stay in touch with people doing them well, and it's good to see people doing well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And for you, Terry, do you keep an eye on them? Because I guess there was a few of you up at Wolves, weren't there, in terms of Wales age grade players?
Yeah, no, like Brennan said, there's not a physical chat with all the boys in, because obviously there's a lot of players over a few age groups and stuff. But yeah, I think everyone keeps an eye on each other, and yeah, if I see anyone doing well or I've done something, then obviously give them a message and tell them well done, all that stuff. So yeah, I think everyone looks out for each other doing well.
Fantastic. Well, James Evans, the next Joe Allen. Well, hang on a sec. That can't be at Brandon, so that must be at you, Terry. Unless you are going to be the next Joe Allen. James, is that for Terry? The next Joe Allen, Terry. I'd take that all day long, wouldn't you?
Yeah, 100%. What a player.
Who's your who do you look up to in the first team? Are there certain players, or maybe even beyond the Cymru teams? Who do you look up to?
I think there's a lot of players. It's hard, I don't know, to look up to people. Obviously, I've been to a training camp with them and stuff. You don't want to sort of look up to them too much, but there's obviously a lot of top players in the first team, and I always watch the games if they have any fixtures and that, and watch players in my position mainly. So, yeah, I mean, to name someone would be Aaron Ramsey, obviously midfield. Joe Allen, like you said, in years gone past, they've been really impressive for Wales and done really big things.
Yeah, no, Aaron is fantastic, isn't he? Fantastic. Do you ever get sort of starstruck? Is that fair to say when you're sort of in and around that sort of those players, or is that just kind of us who are football geeks and watch it from afar that would get starstruck, Brandon?
I think you can if you've watched some of the older players play from a young age and almost admired them playing for the national team and at club level, to be then being in a situation where you can play with or against players like that, for a moment you can almost think, oh, is this actually happening? But then you've got to take it in your stride, because otherwise quickly it'll get found out. And then there's the next challenge. Like, you're always getting challenges in the game, and yeah, it's just something you've got to embrace, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, James Evans has been back on, and he has confirmed that it is Terry he's on about as the next Joe Allen. So there we go. We're done. I believe there's a question from Michael Whedon there. If we can pop that up. Yeah, how are you finding the physicality of the Football League? And Terry, what is Jimmy Floyd like in training? Is he still smashing goals for fun? Is he like putting the boots on, or is he now just on the sidelines?
No, I don't. Yeah, he's not really smashing goals in, but he's still got a bit. Is that a question for me, or
that is a question for you? Yeah, how you finding the physicality of the Football League?
The physicality. I think obviously I played in League 2 in the first half of the season, so that to begin with was a bit of a test. I think there's quite a lot of similarities between League 2 and League 1. So yeah, doing that stint at Grimsby, I think it helped me a lot and set me up for what I've been doing in League 1 as well. Obviously, I had a lot of minutes off the bench, but then obviously starting on Saturday. So yeah, the physicality, I don't think is a problem. I'm quite big. I'm obviously working in the gym to get even stronger, and I think I've got a long way to go in terms of that, but I'm coping pretty well. In terms of Jimmy's in training, I don't know if you mean his coaching methods or what, but I think he's a top coach. Working under him has been great, and I can already see improvements in my game through speaking to him and yeah, him giving me feedback and stuff. So he's a good manager to work under.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, that's great to hear for us from a Wales point of view. Great to hear. The physicality for you, Brandon, as a centre back, is that one of the things that you kind of, I suppose you partly relish it in the game, but also at the same time, was it a bit of a shock in League 2 and playing for Newport?
Yeah, I think going into it, knowing that that's the case in the league, knowing you're going to have a physical battle, and especially being a centre back, you're going to come up against some big, powerful strikers, which I did in League 2. And yeah, the 23s football doesn't really get you ready for that, so it can be a bit of a shock. But I think I coped with it quite well in the way that I play, being quite aggressive and enjoy that side of the game, really. And yeah, you do get used to it quite quickly. And then it's just taking it every week then and just keep trying to grow in that environment.
Fantastic. Well, listen, lads, thank you so much for taking the time out to chat this evening, and good luck. We look forward to seeing how you get on against the Republic of Ireland, and then get the campaign underway in June. So best of luck for the rest of the season, and thanks so much for coming on. And we will now say goodbye, and I'll catch you soon.
Nice one.
Perfect. Cheers.
Thanks, lads. Well done. And we're going to get the coats back on. While Stranger says public, boys. So thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully that was a good little insight. What a great couple of lads. And I'm sure we'll be seeing much more of them over the next couple of years as they sort of get back into it. Karen Oldman says, good luck, Terry. And well done. We actually, when we did the game up at Wrexham, it was fantastic because we had, I think, pretty much the entire Taylor clan coming on and pinging questions in as they were playing against the Moldovans. So that was great. Michael Whedon, cheers, Laura. No problem, mate. Thank you very much for joining in. Don't forget the coaches are coming back. They're going to be with us very shortly, I believe, if Luke puts them back on. Goodness for that. I thought I was going to have to fill for a while longer then, Paul. But yeah, no, listen. Hey, what a couple of great lads. They're so grown up and happy to chat and kind of model professionals, really.
Yeah, fantastic lads, aren't they? Great lads.
Yeah.
Yeah, but both very modest, aren't they, in their ways? They both know they got more to learn, and they're both gaining valuable experience in and around the first team. And that's where they should be, at their age now, playing regular or playing bit parts and still learning the game. You're never too old to learn the game. And they're both more than capable of developing even further.
Is that a big thing, Rob, trying to get players out to play and get them out playing sort of senior football? Because I guess it's quite a different environment now from when you guys were coming through as young pros and trying to make that leap into the professional game with the under-23s football. It almost extends that childhood or age grade football.
Absolutely. It's great to hear Terry talk so positively about Jimmy Floyd, isn't it? About how I was helping him. That's brilliant, because I think that's probably not always the case. Managers are fearful, aren't they, of playing young players? It's a risk they see it as. But those two young lads have definitely not been a risk for the team they're playing for this year. They look like it's all about taking the opportunity you're given, isn't it, when you're a young player? And those two are doing that. I liked your question about being starstruck, because those two, I can imagine, they starstruck for about 5 seconds, but they just want the next challenge, don't they? It's all about bringing it on for them. So their character, I saw when I was with Paul in Germany, those two have got the character to go right to the top, and we got many more like that as well. Real sort of positive, ambitious young men.
Yeah, go on then. Let's chat about a few of those guys that we've got in the squad. The one I wanted to chat to you about, Paul, was Niall Huggins. He's been making some waves there for Leeds United, in on the bench. So fantastic to see him in the squad this time round, and a chance for you guys to take a look. Where is his best position? Because he seems to be able to play pretty much anywhere, doesn't he?
Yeah, and that potentially could be his biggest problem.
A problem? That's not a problem, is it?
Well, sometimes you need to nail a position down, don't you, to establish yourself in that particular role. The fact that he can play many positions obviously suits the way Leeds play. It's an exciting brand of football, as we've all seen this year in the Premier. Bielsa is a tremendous manager, and if you can impress the manager of that stature, then you're going to have a bright future. I watched him on Monday actually playing for Leeds 23s, playing as a left back. I thought he was playing left wing. I thought he was playing number 10. I thought he was playing a striker at one stage. So yeah, we're going to have to rein him in a little bit, because at international level, if he's a left back, he's going to have to be a good fullback and a good defender first and foremost, and obviously give us the added bonus of his attacking forays at the right times. So no, I'm looking forward to getting him on camp and speaking to him, obviously in a real personal way, and find out exactly where he really wants to play and establish himself in the future. It's obviously working at the moment at Leeds, but for him to progress and hold himself in a first team environment, I think he'll have to hold his position a little bit more, shall I say?
Is that the Bielsa coaching now? Is that a Bielsa total football?
Well, it must be. I mean, obviously, if you're keeping other players in defensive positions, your two centre halves and maybe a holding midfield player or two holding players, then that's fine. But an under-23s football is completely different to under-21 international football. So we have to respect that as well. But listen, he's doing extremely well. I think he signed a 2.5-year contract not long ago, and he's made his debut in the first team. I mean, that is a tremendous achievement in itself. So hopefully we will find the right position for him come the end of the week. And, he'll make his debut in the under-21 team at some stage, I hope.
Yeah, fantastic. We've got a question from the Welsh Dragon. Good to have Finn Stevens involved with the under-21s, a young lad from Brentford. Rob, he's stolen him off you, hasn't he? Shouldn't he be with you?
Well, we had an interesting meeting, but Finn's done it. Paul knows more about Finn than myself. But we just thought that he's been in Brentford's first team, and it's about sort of where he deserves to be. And I think when you're playing in the Championship or around the Championship club, you probably the 21s is where you should be. Paul's watched him a lot more than myself, but I think he's an exciting player from what I've heard. So we're looking forward to seeing him.
And obviously, Finn is dual qualified, Paul as well. So how do those sort of conversations go when you guys are kind of meeting with these young players and discussing their futures?
Well, we obviously find out from one place or another, whether it's an agent or it's our head of recruitment, Gus Williams. They get this information, and then we track the player for a short period before making big assumptions that they could come straight into a group. And then we have the contact with the player. We get all the relevant documentation if it's required to make sure that these players can represent Wales. And then it's a case of tracking them, meeting them. Sometimes we meet the families. Sometimes we just meet the player. And then it's speaking to their club and then watching them and monitoring the player over a period of time. So he's another one, Finn, similar to the two boys we've had on the show tonight. Mature, really keen to develop, wants to be part of what we're doing. And, he's really excited to be coming in for his first camp. And, all the boys will make him feel welcome. We'll put on a week where he'll really enjoy himself. We'll add to his personal development, hopefully. And he'll go back to Brentford with a little bit more insight into what playing for Wales is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. There was a couple of other questions that have just come in. One of them, I think, which is about whether Wales are going to win the Grand Slam. I'm not entirely sure what it has. Rob, are they going to win the Grand Slam this weekend?
Well, I think hopefully they didn't use their luck up in the first two games that I watched because they were slightly fortunate in that. But they've been improving, haven't they? So let's go for a Grand Slam. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. We want Wales to win at Tiddlywinks, right? So fingers crossed for the Grand Slam this weekend. James Evans has also put up a question. Great to see Nathan Broadhead on the bench for Everton against Burnley last Saturday. Now, here's a young man who has made his way through the entire age grade and has been sort of knocking on the door, really, hasn't he, recently? Paul, you must be really pleased to see him getting those spots on the bench for Everton.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, watched him many times last year for Burton Albion when he was on loan there, and he did really well. And I thought that could be a route for him. Maybe they didn't think he was quite good enough for Everton. Maybe they felt his maturation was a little bit behind, so he needed a little bit more time, either out on loan or in the 23s. The fact that he didn't go out on loan, I was a bit surprised by because he wasn't involved then with the first team. But his performances in the 23s of late have been absolutely outstanding. He scored a hat-trick against somebody, then he scored 2 goals in the next game. I mean, I watched them on video, and he looks a much, much better player than 23 football. His pace, his hold-up play, his movement, and of course his finishing. He's playing as a number 9 now, which I used him in a wide area, and predominantly he's been a wide player or a 10 for Wales. And maybe that's his new role, as a 9. He's got pace to get in behind. He's got 2 good feet. And he's really calm and composed in front of the goal. So, he's got all the ingredients there to be a good number 9. And like you said, on the first team for Everton is no mean achievement, is it? So fingers crossed he can keep in and around the first team. Training with the first team every day will help him personally and help his development. But ultimately, again, what is he, 21, 22 now, maybe even possibly a little bit older. You know, he does need to forge a career playing league football. The thing is with academies, I think you mentioned it to Rob earlier, it almost keeps them in like a youth team environment playing 23s. And how long can they afford to stay in that environment? When Rob and myself were 17, 18, we were playing first team football and representing Wales at under 21 level. So, you know, you've got to get them games under your belt at some stage. And obviously, the earlier you can, the better. The academy under 23s gives the late developers that time and that opportunity to stay in the game rather than being released. And of course, the squads around first teams now are so much bigger. So a young player of 18, you know, playing well in the youth team, he's got to try and get beyond the 23s and then get through probably a 30-man first team squad. So it's not easy to get in. So it just shows you when a player like Niall, like Nathan now bursting through, they're going past many quality players to get to that position. And, you know, you have to take your hat off to them because it's a tough career now, but the rewards are so high and we all hope the young boys, all the success they can have.
Yeah, because it is a roller coaster at that age, isn't it? And a lad last night who came on and made his championship debut, Christian Norton. I know you had him with the under-19s, Rob, and he was actually without a club. He was with Southampton, then released, and has picked up again at Stoke. So it's not just a straight trajectory, is it? When you're that age, and tell us a little bit about Christian as well.
Yeah, so I was actually at Southampton with Christian as well in my previous role. So I think he was a scholar at Southampton and then left there. I've got a year's pro. But I think last October we had an under-19 game against England and we tried to call him into the squad. He had no club. He was not training with anybody, so we invited him in. But I think at the time he was going on trial to a couple of clubs. And he's found his way to Stoke and he's got himself on the bench and made his debut last night, which is brilliant. So I texted him, congratulations. He's delighted because I think at one stage he was fearful that he wasn't going to get a club and he was going to have to possibly, you know, look elsewhere, maybe go out of football totally. So it just shows the boys are, you know, to get that next contract is so important for them, you know, wherever it is to stay in, like Paul says, in men's football and get the opportunity. But Christian's a big, powerful centre forward. I think there's more to come from him. I think that was always going to be if he can stay in the game and around, you know, first team players and improve his technique because he's powerful. He leads the line well. He's got good pace. He played for Paul at under-19s, I think, in the elite group in Holland. So he's got plenty of experience in international football. So he's another. Well, I suppose we haven't got lots of number 9s, have we? But he's another player that now is in the 21s with Paul and can possibly push on, but it's great to see him doing well. Really, really great.
Yeah. Michael O'Neill post-match was very complimentary of him and Bodie even made you leave the game late, didn't he?
Well, yeah, the game got a bit, I don't know if dour was the right word, but the last 15 minutes, I thought, I'm going to leave. And then I see Christian warming up. And I thought, no, just hang on, just in case. And with no goals for either side. Stoke were trying to win it. Cardiff, to be fair, the last sort of 15 as well, they pushed on, tried to win it. Kiefer had a couple of good opportunities, didn't he? But yeah, you're always delighted. As we said at the start of the show, you know, these young boys, they're in our age groups, intermediate groups, but, you know, we genuinely want them to push on and progress to the first team. And Christian, you know, he took him a while to find a club, done quite well in the under 23 fixtures. Michael O'Neill's obviously taken a liking to him, had him on the bench for 3 or 4 games and finally made his debut last night. And he did really well. He was only on for sort of 10, 12 minutes, but he made a decent impact. And, you know, that should inspire him now and give him the belief that, you know, Cardiff are a tough team to play against, 3 big centre-halves. And he come on and did reasonably well. So he'll be looking to add to them minutes between now and the end of the season, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And with you in the 21s. And there was one other man who I was very, very pleased to see. I know it's just slightly off topic here, but I can see Ridian's commenting there. Says, Joe Allen, back, best news ever. And he looked bright last night, Bodes, didn't he?
Oh, he did, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, when you've had an Achilles injury like he did, I mean, they're career-threatening injuries. And to see him play like he did last night, I thought he was excellent throughout. And he was just buzzing all around the pitch, secure with the ball, always trying little ones around the corner, always trying to be creative for the team, and his work rate and energy, challenging, making challenges. You think, oh, no, don't go for that one. I think he did one with one of the centre-halves of Cardiff. And I thought, don't go for that. But that's Joe, isn't it? He's a 100% competitor, and you can't change his game. He's come in, to the highlight of his career. And it's fantastic, not only for Stoke, but for Wales to see him back playing as well as he did last night.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And as you said, really, really nasty injury as well. We've got a question in from Di. Di, nice to see you, mate. Great hearing the expertise at the FAW. How much have things improved since Paul was coming through? And actually, that can go to you both, because I get you both kind of came in and around about the same sort of time, so you both experienced what the system was like then.
Well,
yeah.
Go on, Rob.
Someone was telling me the other day, it was 30 years ago, I was playing for the under-18s for Wales, and it's hard to think back in it, but I know one thing, that we had players who were incredibly committed then, but the level's just totally different now. The level of international football is so high, and the preparation, we've been planning our camps today, and the staff we don't obviously have full-time staff. We have, we bring coaches in, goalkeeping coaches that are employed by other clubs, but the level of detail that these people and the level they work at is so high now. So coaching's changed a lot. Maybe the players haven't changed too much, but the facilities and what we do for them has changed a lot. But it's still, without doubt, the pride of putting on the jersey. That is one thing that's never changed. Is that you just, you see that kit, or the training kit, when you put it on as a player, or you see the players putting it on. That's the big thing. The thing we're all chasing, I think, in it, that recreate the time that we played for Wales.
Yeah, well, for you guys, no, not for me, but yeah. Paul, for yourself, same question to you then. How things have improved in the system?
Well, in terms of the system, I was lucky enough to start working on a part-time basis for the FAW back in 2012. Geraint Williams was then the intermediate manager. Brian Flynn had done it previous to that, and Brian had done a great job. He worked very close with John Toshak, and they implemented many of the young top players, people like Ramsey and Bale back then. But certainly since sort of 2012, I was lucky enough to join the Dan James, Harry Wilson group. We had a training camp at Dragon Park. I didn't really know the players at that particular time. Straight into a camp, helping Geraint, being his assistant. And since then, I've been on board and seen big changes since then. Geraint brought in Dave Hughes, so he had an assistant. And then ultimately, Dave left, Geraint left, Rob Page came in, brought myself in as a full-time coach. Then Rob Edwards came in not long after, and now Matty Jones is in. So we're making great strides in terms of staffing. And of course, back in sort of 2012, when Geraint was running it basically on his own, you could only get the age groups in when you were available. So there was not necessarily an international window, but every time Geraint would probably take the under-21s in a window, and then have the 19s and 17s outside the window, when clubs can be reluctant to let their players out. Now in the international windows, you're guaranteed the players. Even so, some clubs are reluctant to let their players out. They have to let them out in the international window. That's one time we can guarantee of getting them players, on some grass with us. So it's been real big changes. I mean, the staffing, as Rob said, it's elite staffing. The facilities are elite. We stay in really good top hotels. So we try and leave no stone unturned. The medical staff, the analysts, they're all of the highest level, and we're there for the players. The players utilize as much as they possibly can, and all we ask them to do is run around and give their best, wear that shirt with pride. And as Rob touched on there's nothing better than when that national anthem is playing just before the game. It's an incredible feeling. And even nowadays, you know, although I'm on the touchline, it's a very proud moment to be leading one of the age groups, and you still get a lump in your throat and the hairs on the back of your neck wherever you may be around Europe, and it's fantastic, and you can see the pride in all the players. Exactly the same. They all sing the anthem with great gusto and a real pride in what they're hoping to achieve for their country.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I guess Cled's got a lot to do with that as well in his time and his teaching of the national anthem. So the more people behind the scenes. But yeah, listen, guys, thank you so much for that. It's been a fantastic insight into the age grade system. Thanks very much for all your questions as well. You've piled in. Under 21s live streamed on the FAW channels. That'll be Friday the 26th, taking on the Republic of Ireland up at Collier's Park. And the under 18s, that's also going to be live streamed as well, so you can see how they get on against England. That'll be Monday the 29th. So good luck to all the Cymru teams, and of course always sandwiched in between the World Cup qualifiers and the friendly against Mexico. What a fantastic couple of weeks we're going to be having. But gents, thanks so much again. We're going to leave it there, and hopefully we will see you all soon. Cheers now.
Thanks.